Hello and welcome to It's Not So Lonely at the Top podcast. This is a podcast for business leaders and business owners just like you. We're going to be sharing top tips on how to develop yourself personally and professionally. I'm going to be sharing updated podcasts on a regular basis, so please do make sure you subscribe, and I really hope you enjoy today's podcast. Yeah, I value a freewheeling podcast.
Yep.
One of the things I've realised since I've prepared questions, how much deeper the questions I'm able to ask. So there is a benefit to preparation in the deeper questions, but then I also like to do a freewheeler one. So here we are for a short episode. Tim has just recorded a fantastic podcast with me, and he's back for a second episode today, where we're going to talk about a bit of mental health and burnout, I think. And we're just going to freewheel because we've not really prepared. But one of the things that struck me, Tim, about the reality is we've not spent lots of time together. But interestingly, I sense, which is very unusual for two guys, I suppose, or how I interact with other guys, and that is that there's a real sort of closeness and authenticity, and that you're very I think aware of yourself and how you feel and the impact that you have. So really highly emotionally intelligent, and that you've clearly done some sort of work around your personal development, how you feel. And you talk about, it's interesting because you talk about woo-woo stuff in the same way that I talk about it, which is, it's a bit unusual for us to talk about these things, but that's what I believe. So yeah, tell me a bit more about your journey when it comes to mental health. What's the journey been like, and how have you found it, and what have you done to cope? That's really broad, isn't it? But
well,
take it where you like.
I think that's great, because a bit like your question earlier on about what would you say to your 18-year-old self, it's a great disarming question that cuts straight to the heart of the matter. Look, by anyone's definition, I had a privileged upbringing, but just because they're, materially privileged doesn't protect you from emotional trauma.
Sure.
And sure, I never had to worry about food on the table like, the millions of people in the world that do.
Sure.
I guess this is one of the sort of dichotomies we face every day, is how can I feel low when essentially I have everything I need?
I love that. So you've beaten yourself up for being privileged as well, essentially.
Yes. Well, that attracts back to the question about what would you say to your 18-year-old self, which
Sure.
is you're not better than anyone else, which is what I used to think.
Yeah, sure.
So my mother was very sick when I was young, and she was hospitalized for 6 months, and I was 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sent away from home
Mm-hmm.
because my father was working very hard and couldn't work and bring up 4 kids.
Okay.
Which is, everyone focuses on how tough it must have been for Mum, but actually Mum was, she was kind of sick and, for want of a better expression, out of it.
Sure.
Were
you the eldest or the youngest?
No, I was. My 2 brothers are 7 and 8 years older than me, so they stayed at home with Dad. My sister and my sister's 14 months younger, and
Okay, so you were the third.
so we were.
I was the third of 4.
Right, there you go.
It's an interesting position in the family.
Yes.
I'm interested in the position in the family, which was why I asked.
Yeah,
so.
I'm interested too. And again, it's very easy to start sort of blaming and looking at, science behind it. But I was 3 of 4, and the 4th was a girl, which is, what Mum wanted.
Yeah, sure.
And so it's very easy to think, oh, well, actually, they wanted a girl, but I came out a boy. So, you know,
they had to keep
is
going.
there anything in that?
Yeah.
I mean, you can drive yourself mad.
Yeah. They stopped with perfection with my younger sister, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, you got that as well. Okay. Yeah. Well, we're both there. Yeah. Let's not talk about this one on tape.
Well, mine's just a bit of a wind up because she's the favourite, and she may or may not listen, and I often wind her up that she's the favourite.
I do the same. Let's not go there.
Sorry, you were going. Well, I was going to say we've turned it into sibling rivalries rather than your parents. Sorry.
So yeah, look, I got sent away for 6 months, and you know, some people will say, "Oh, get over it, you know, get on with your life," but I'm told that, you know, that it's quite a formative age for
sure,
to be, you know, to be separated from your primary carer.
Sure, yeah.
So who knows what patterns that has set in motion for me. Like I said, I'm not a psychologist, but I was then sent away to boarding school at 9.
Oh well, okay.
You know, so some people will say, reinforcing the pattern that, you know, love gets withdrawn and you get sent away. In my head, I just got sent to boarding school. My parents, you know, I thought, I always assumed they'll be doing the best for me. So,
sure.
And I had a great time there.
Sure.
But, you know, for the first term, I really missed the family. I remember just crying myself to sleep for half the term.
Wow.
Because I was 9.
Yeah.
And I picture now, I've got an 11-year-old son now. The thought of, like, even now, sending him to boarding school is unacceptable to me.
Sure. Yeah.
When he was 9, I mean, he's a baby.
Yeah, of course.
But, you know, my life is different to my parents' life. So,
sure.
You know,
and the norms and stuff, right? Boarding. I don't know anyone that sends kids to boarding school now. None of my friends send kids to boarding school anymore. Some of them go to private school, but none of them go boarding anymore. I don't know if that's still a thing. I guess it must be, but
it is for some people. Yeah.
I was going to say my uncle, my mum's brother was sent to boarding school. I remember, and she tells me stories about how he used to run away, and she'd have to fetch him and send him back to boarding school. You know, so it must be quite traumatic.
Yeah,
I must say.
And yeah. Anyway, so, like, look, who knows if that was pattern forming, but I was quite young in both instances.
Sure.
I actually started drinking at a relatively young age. And I think it's probably not even young now. I think things tend to just start younger and younger and younger now. But, course, you know, I was drinking from... In fact, it doesn't sound young at all now, but I was drinking from 15, maybe. That's
still
14,
quite,
maybe
still,
14.
Still quite young.
15.
Yeah, still quite young. My lad's, you know, my son is 14 now, and I couldn't imagine him drinking.
No, so yeah, maybe it was 15.
He's not interested at all. So yeah.
And I never really stopped. I never got into recreational drugs.
Sure.
I was always I was known as, you know, oh yeah, no, he's, you know, don't bother offering anything to Tim. He's a hard no.
Yeah.
But I did drink.
Yeah, sure.
You know, had the usual teenage relationship traumas, breakups, but I mean, that's no different to anyone else.
Yeah.
And then my mum sadly passed away when I was 25.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think 25 is still pretty young. to lose a parent.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, it was a horrible time. I have lovely memories of her now. You know, she was a beautiful lady in you know, physically, but I was thinking more so she had a beautiful heart. She was a kind soul, and certainly didn't deserve the shit set of cards she was given. But she dealt with her illness with dignity and grace and bravery, which taught me a lot. And yes, I beat myself up about that sometimes when I'm feeling low about my lot in life, and I then picture Mum knowing that she's going to die in her 50s and struggling to breathe, and I beat myself up about, what are you moaning about?
Sure, yeah. You should be grateful.
But yeah,
it's a common thing, so I get it,
it?
because I often tell myself, "Oh, you should be grateful. You should be grateful for this, and you should be grateful for that."
Yeah.
It's one of the things we do to avoid how we really feel.
Yeah, but you asked initially about my journey of mental health. I've always had an angry side. I mean, I'd love to know where that, I'd love to definitively have an answer for where that came from, because I like things to have their place. I'm quite OCD. I'm a bit of a neat freak.
Of course, yeah.
I like to compartmentalize things, and it would be lovely to know, you have this angry streak because, for instance, your mum died.
Sure.
But that's not how life works. So I'm sort of left to just deal with it.
Figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out and work on it and not blame anyone or anything. And ultimately it's all down to me. But certainly, when you say, talk me through your mental health story, if I had to be really succinct and just say in 2 words or 3 words, it would be bereavement, alcohol, anger.
Right, okay.
In what order?
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah,
because
what caused
the anger could have been before the bereavement.
Yeah.
Alcohol certainly preceded it and succeeded it. And the alcohol stayed for, 2 or 3 decades.
Sure.
And that undoubtedly will not have helped.
Have you given up alcohol? Or
No,
do you have a better relationship with it?
I've had periods of giving it up, and I was never an alcoholic. I just
coping mechanism.
Drank a lot on sort of most days.
Yeah.
Now I did give it up for I don't know, 3 or 6 months, and I found that relatively easy. And I haven't been drunk, drunk for years.
Oh, right, okay.
But I still love, a couple of pints, 2 or 3 pints here or there. I don't drink spirits. I might occasionally, if I'm on holiday, have a cocktail because it feels right on holiday in the sun on a beach. I'm quite fussy about my wine now. I'll drink wine if it's good.
Okay.
I've cut out what I call the pointless pints.
Okay.
So, those times where you would bump into someone that, is not a particularly good mate, and you'd be waiting for a train, and would you fancy a quick pint while we're waiting for the train? And I would always have done that.
Yeah, sure.
But now it's more no, that would be a pointless use of
a pint.
my they're not pink tickets, but I sort of almost look at drinking like I need to work to earn those. And so I will have a pint with people I really like. I'm not going to have one with you.
Sure. Hi, my name's Pete, and I want to thank you for tuning into today's podcast. I'm a coach, speaker, and author. And if you want to take your personal development that bit further, did you know that I offer a mastermind program as well as one-to-one coaching? If you're interested, please do reach out on peterushmer.com.
Now I've said that.
I was going to say, we've never been for a beer, so fuck you. I'm joking.
Yeah.
I don't drink anyway,
Yeah.
so it's fine. I'm not going to take it personally.
No. I wasn't thinking of you, actually.
Oh,
but,
okay.
yeah, that's funny.
There'll be people in your life now who are questioning the
Exactly,
fact that you've never been
I
for a
remember
beer.
when he said, no, I'm not having a drink,
You're not worth a drink to me.
Yeah. And that's the brutality of life, right?
Yeah, no, that's cool. So, what do you do? So, clearly, or my belief around mental health, I think, is that it's just part of health, right? It's just part of our overall well-being. There's not really any differentiator, and sometimes we're in a good state of health, and sometimes we're not so in such a good state of health. What do you do, and how do you help yourself to stay in a healthy sort of position for yourself? What do you do to sort of cope?
Structure. So to say cope.
I was going to say cope's probably a bad word.
It implies
actually.
that there's a problem.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I didn't necessarily mean that.
And it can obviously it can become a problem. But I like what you were saying, that unfortunately now when you mention mental health, people almost immediately think that you're nuts.
Sure.
Or that you're mentally impaired in some way, or weak, or fragile.
Yeah.
Mental health is just the same as physical health.
Yes.
We've all, I think, anyone that's aware out there realizes that you have to look after your mind the same as you look after your body.
That is exactly what I meant.
Yeah.
It's essentially it's like you go to the gym to stay healthy. You need to do things to keep yourself sane.
Yeah.
In a crazy world.
Yeah. And one of the great things about the gym is that it's looking after both your mind and your body.
Absolutely.
So it's one area that I'm still working on, and actually as I'm talking about it, I really could do with an accountability partner for physical health.
Okay.
Because it's something I could definitely be better at, making sure that I've exercised enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things, like I mentioned earlier, I'll have it on my to-do list, but I will renegotiate with myself. Okay. Oh, actually, no, it's more important that I need to, go through Pete's email, or I need to do some biz dev, or, we're very clever at coming up with something that sounds more important.
Sure.
When actually it isn't.
Mm.
But I do have, like I alluded to earlier, a good routine of waking up. First of all, I have a gratitude routine when I go to sleep. So the last thing I'll do at night is this gratitude routine.
Sure.
It's a nice way to end the day.
Yeah, love that. Yeah.
In the morning, I'll set my intentions.
Mm-hmm.
I will exercise at some point, brackets not, but the intention is to. That's my Achilles heel at the moment.
Okay.
I will eat a healthy breakfast. I will eat a healthy lunch. I generally eat healthily, and a bit like earning my pint at the end of the week.
Sure.
I will earn, we quite often have, pizza movie night,
sure,
Friday or Saturday.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've earned that pizza during the week by eating healthily. I have good sleep, a good sleep routine. No screens within an hour of going to bed.
Okay.
I eat at least 2 hours before going to sleep.
Nice. Yeah.
I have a hell of a lot less alcohol than I used to, because that always disrupts my sleep.
Sure.
And it makes me think sometimes, even when I'm with, much closer friends than you are,
I'm
joking.
joking.
Why am I having these pints? Because I know I'll sleep worse, but for some reason it's just it's worth it, because it.
Do you have a sleep target?
I do actually. At minimum 7 hours.
Right. Okay.
And
do you track it?
I don't. So I almost got into the wearables and tracking it, but just as I was about to, I had a conversation with someone, and it was, if there's nothing really wrong with your sleep, and I have good sleep health, then it's just noise. Like, why do you need to track it? It's just something else you need to look at, and more tech. And tech's one of my triggers. I get quite stressed when tech's not working.
Right. Okay.
And I just thought, why do I need to? If I slept really badly, I could understand, going through all this data. But actually, if I'm sleeping well, I'm not geeky enough to need to know that I had 4 hours of REM sleep last night. How is that actually going to help me?
Yeah, of course.
It's more likely to distract me and make me think, oh, only 4 hours of REM sleep. Well, why aren't I getting 5?
5, yeah.
And actually, I sleep fine. So,
yep.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, it can add stress, can't it, when you've got a target?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And just be something else you're tracking. And there's so much to track as there is.
Yeah, it's exhausting. Yeah.
So I avoided that. Also, I'm quite skeptical as to how accurate these sleep devices are. I'm not gonna name any names on a podcast, but I know there are rings you can wear which are supposed to be much better than the watches for, in particular, sleep data. But actually, how accurate can they be?
Yeah, sure.
And I really have read that watch data is kind of just sticking your finger in the air and having a bit of a guess. And so, why listen to it?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Look, maybe there's a placebo effect. If your watch tells you you've had a good night's sleep, then and you feel better, then great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you. And how do we get onto that? What were we talking about?
I asked about.
What am I doing? So in a nutshell, less alcohol.
Yeah.
Better food.
Yeah.
More exercise. Time with the kids.
I'm gonna ask.
Time outside, actually, in nature, that really helps.
That. I'm gonna ask an interesting question that I ask myself quite often, and I think that.
Why am I nervous?
Do you think that you can personally develop yourself to the point where, due to your strength of mindset and awareness, that you can build resilience to the point where you're less likely to be affected by mental health problems?
Yes.
Nice. That was more succinct than I expected it to be.
Definitely. So, and my experience of that hopefully will lend some credibility to my answer, because otherwise it's arbitrary.
Yeah, sure.
rowing across the Atlantic, for me, and this goes for anyone that is pushing themselves outside of their comfort zones. That is how you grow. Comfort and growth cannot coexist.
Yeah.
So you have to choose to become uncomfortable. And that is where you grow. If you are choosing, for instance, at work, to address an uncomfortable situation, that's brave. That's a choice. You're choosing growth. You're choosing discomfort, which goes against your anthropology, because we are hardwired for comfort. And every time you do that, it gives you a resource on which you can draw in the future. So take a simple example. I haven't been to the gym for 2 months. I say to myself, this is ridiculous. I need to get stronger. This is good for my mental health if I go to the gym. I'm going tomorrow, even though I'm tired and I really don't want to go. I make myself go. That then reminds me that I can go, and makes it easier to go the next time.
Yep.
And then that becomes, I think they call them streaks now, don't they, these days? And then that starts a streak.
Sure.
But that streak, when you break it down, is a set of choices to do the uncomfortable thing. And so you gain cadence. And on the row for us, for Simon and I, we were, halfway in particular, we were broken. Everyone said halfway is the best feeling. You can feel the embrace of your family. You can smell the first beer. You've rowed yourself fit. You're used to the systems. You're used to the food. You're used to the routine. And so, having planned every sort of baby step up until halfway, which helped us prevent overwhelm by having small goals within the main goal.
Sure.
When we got to halfway, we had no other plan. And rather than feeling amazing, like everybody said we would, we were broken. Our hands were covered in sores. Our calf muscles were just skin because we haven't walked for a month. We were covered in cuts and bruises, so sleep deprived we were hallucinating. We'd forgotten each other's names, waking up in the middle of the night not knowing where the hell you were and being completely disorientated. And we had to dig so deep consistently to keep going. And very simply, that's taught Simon and I that there's really not very much we can't do, because we know how deep we can dig when pushed.
Sure.
And it's a common figure, and I don't know who they are when I say they say that most people are running at 30% of their potential. But based on what Simon and I did, we were not elite athletes. We just made a choice, chose to push ourselves outside of our comfort zone, chose a big, hairy goal, and set in place a plan and processes, and just kept digging deep and remaining accountable to each other. And it is unbelievable what you can achieve if you have a vision and a set of values, and you have the right people in the right seats, and you're running on objective data, and you're sorting out your issues on a day-to-day basis, and you have the right process, and you have accountability. We went from non-rowers to Atlantic rowers, effectively using EOS principles.
I love that.
And so, yeah, so resilience comes from doing the uncomfortable thing.
Nice.
And they become resources for you to just look back on and go, well, I did that last time. I'm going to do it again.
And on that bombshell, I'm going to end the podcast. Tim, thank you very much for sharing those insights. Fantastic. Really, really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
Thanks for joining us. See you on the next episode. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on today's It's Not So Lonely at the Top podcast. We really hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. I'm absolutely delighted that you took the time to listen, and I really hope that you'll subscribe to ensure that you receive future episodes too. If you want to find out any more, please do search It's Not So Lonely at the Top podcast, and you'll find it on your favourite podcast app. Thank you.